difficulties this morning. So I want to thank you for joining us. That's not in the topic because I couldn't get, for one, I did one thing, and then when I pulled up my video to start, I had to copy and paste something from another video. And well, then when I copied and pasted something from another video, it went to, anyway, I had technical difficulties, so my apologies. And I'll have to do all the edits once so all the information in my description right now is not really accurate. That's okay, because I can fix it. Everything is fixable. But it was important to me to show up, and I apologize I was a couple of minutes late because the technical difficulties. But it's okay. We're here, and it's Wednesday, Winsday. Woo, woo. So what is it that you're winning today? You know, I shared earlier on Facebook, the Facebook Live, I shared that yesterday I got to go to the beach yesterday morning, which was awesome. I live like by drive, it's like 7 minutes away. To walk, it's 45 minutes to an hour away walking. But anyway, I got to go to the beach. And it rained a little bit while I was at the beach. It sprinkled a minute, but then I was able to get in the water. Sometimes I just like to get in the water and float and think about the elements. John London, good morning, my friend. How are you this day? So I'm just making small talk while we're all getting on here. Thank you for being here this morning. So how is it? How are you doing over there? We finally got some rain. That's what I was sharing after the beach. When I got home, I was talking to a neighbor, and I was telling the neighbor how badly we needed rain. I was out there watering my plants in the front. Hey, Robbie, it's good to see you too. Good morning, y'all. Thank you for being here. So after I got in and was complaining about the rain, because Texas has been getting a lot of rain, and I'm in Mexico, so one would think that the rain would maybe flow. Sometimes it does from Texas down to Mexico, and it finally did. You're having some brief sunny weather there after raining. Yeah, we needed the rain here. Something awful. I left my plants and everything, the naturalness. Good morning, Safa Young or John. So the thing is that I was also talking about how I'm doing great. Thank you. I was also talking about how with the rain, when we can embrace this, is the rain. Yeah. So with the rain and embracing the rain is sometimes when we're, I felt a little weepy this morning, and I thought this is perfect because sometimes, and I didn't really have a reason to feel weepy. I mean, I could think of things. Our memory holds things we could think to feel weepy about. But I thought this is great because I talk about the tears water our souls so that we can grow, and so I hope that we're ready to grow this morning. You have to leave in a half hour to get some stuff to do. Well, I'm glad that you could be here for a half hour. The seawater is natural therapy. People who go to the beach live longer. I do believe that, and I do think that there's a magnetization with the salt water, right? Is it that there's magnetization? Thank you, Nate. I wish I didn't have to wear glasses. At one time I did not. Thanks, Logan. So anyway, this thing. So getting to go to the beach and embrace those elements, getting to lay on the sand, and the sand kind of hugs you. The sand's my favorite carpet, right? Is the sand kind of hugs you, but the sun is shined on the sand. Who all has walked on that sand before I go and lay on it? This is what is so cool. These are the thoughts. This is where my thoughts goes. Oh, this is so cool. This is what keeps us united. So anyway, hello, Louis. So, what we're going to talk about today is why letting go feels so hard, the hidden addiction to control. Neat. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Nate. There's a good morning, beautiful mama. There was this pretty girl on the beach yesterday, young, beautiful girl, and she was so nice. She looked at us, and I told her, I said, "You're so young and pretty." I was young and pretty too. And I said, "But you're so young and pretty." She says, "Well, I hope that when I get older, I look like you." And that's truly a compliment. So, yeah. I don't know, Louis. This talk isn't going to be, though, about vegans and meats. Y'all know that I don't talk about religion, politics. We don't talk about my age on here. We don't talk, about these things, and we don't do, we're very mindful and respectful of one another. So if somebody's vegan, that's okay. That's okay. To each his own. To each his own, Louise. I don't esteem myself by what other people do. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about this morning, why letting go feels so hard, and the truth. That's right, Robbie. Good morning, Angel. So why letting go feels so hard, and the hidden addiction to control. A lot of us don't even realize that we're trying to control things. Yeah, same. I want to look like you when I'm your. Oh, thank you, Nate. The rich are heading to the. Okay, well, I'm not talking about. That's not the topic this morning either. A Zamu. Angel, thank you for asking, but I am single, but this isn't a dating thing, so I'm not able to date people all over the world right now. As I'm just trying to date myself, date myself. But thank you. So Monday we talked about the fear of being wrong. If y'all didn't get to catch Monday's live, then please catch it. We talked about the fear of being wrong. A lot of these things we don't realize are our fears. We project things out onto others. And so when we can realize what our fears are, we can grow, like I was talking about earlier. I do private coaching, Ghost. If you'll, right now my email address is not in my description, but if you'll look at my other videos, my email address is in the description, and you can email me to get private coaching, because I do one-on-one coaching. Thank you for asking, Ghost. Logan. Neat. We need beauty tips from you. Well, I shared some the other day, and part of that is my being clean and sober. I'm going to be, in 4 more days, I'm going to have my 29 years, and y'all won't have to hear me talk about that much anymore. It's really exciting because it's just one day at a time. And so not putting alcohol, drugs, and things in my body, and getting to know my soul, like I'm talking about, crying those tears that I needed to cry to cleanse my spirit, to cleanse my soul, to get that junk buried on my soul so that I could grow. I had to get it off, and the only way to do it was cleansing. So we talked about the fear of being wrong Monday, and as I reflected on that conversation, I realized many of us aren't really afraid of being wrong. We're afraid of what being wrong might cost us, right? What being wrong might cost us. I'm giving you energy. I hope it's good energy, because that's what I get on here when I set my intention in the morning, is I hope to be able to help somebody else, not to feel trapped in their own mind. As a mindset coach, that's what I help people do, is to stop the trap and to cleanse their soul. Because a lot of things we bury on our soul, some of them aren't even true. Some of them are projections from other folks. And so that we need our divine direction, because that's what the soul does, is the soul gives you direction. The ego will give you protection, because the ego is directly linked to your central nervous system. So I know that a lot of y'all don't like the science. I start losing people when I start talking about science. And so here we grow. But, when we talk about not religious here, is I do believe in spirituality, and I do believe in energy. And science is the energy part, right? The energy factor. And spirituality is the mystical factor. So these are things that I like. Good morning, Don. How are you? Grinch is here. Grinch is playing in his house again. He's got this tennis shoe that hangs up in there. It's like a little tennis shoe this big, and it's got these little beads that hang off of it, and he loves to play with that. So that's where he is right now. So, when we fear rejection, what we fear is we fear rejection. We fear disappointment. You were vaping and stopped. Your counselor was really bad. He kept making misogynist comments that I shouldn't have vaped as a woman. He used the wrong pronouns for my friend who came to defend me. When I started therapy many years ago, the first thing she told me was not to should on myself, because should is not empowering. That is not an empowering word. And if you're with a therapist or a coach, hopefully they are empowering you, helping you to realize, sometimes we have wrong thoughts, and a lot of us are afraid of having those wrong thoughts, that we're trying to prove that they're not wrong thoughts, even if the wrong thoughts are lower than what we deserve. So that's why I like to get on here. I'm sorry that happened to you. I hate that. Good morning, Naranja. Thank you very much. So, when we fear, what the hidden addiction to control and why letting go feels so hard is, we're afraid of something. Sometimes we're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of disappointment. We're afraid of not feeling important. I tell y'all that when I get down to the core of my inner child wounds, that's what it is do I not feel important? You know, and I think a lot of human beings, that's the problem, is that they don't feel important. So we fear losing something important. I talk about recovery sometimes, and the human spirit. What we fear at the core of everything is losing what we have or not getting what we want. That's the survival to the fittest. Good morning, Trevor. How are you this day? So, Shalarjan. I do pray for, there's so many people struggling, and I do pray for you all that are struggling. I know that a lot of us are just trying to make it, and I pray for you all. Epic. These guys aren't afraid of rejection. They live for it, apparently. All right. We have one here that may be, I think it's just one, but yeah. So, yeah, there are some that, do. Sometimes we want what we can't have. There's that. So sometimes we want what we can't have, and we don't even realize that we're wanting what we can't have because that's the way that we trained our mind. That was something that we grew up with. We longed for something growing up and we couldn't have it. So when I talk about proving something, a lot of times that's what we're trying to prove, is that if I can get it, then I have my self-esteem, right? Thank you so much, John. I appreciate that, John London. That's right. That's what she told me. Don't should on myself. Should is not empowering. And it kind of sounds like another word. And kind of that's the way that it feels when we should on ourselves, like we need to be hidden, right? And so shouldn't on ourselves. We all make mistakes as human beings. We all make mistakes. Our whole life is not a mistake, though. Some people walk around thinking their whole life is a mistake, and it's not. When we talked about being wrong, what maybe you are wrong. So many people are defending that, afraid of making mistakes. And what we really need to do, and why I get on here, is to try to help people understand that we're human beings. So we're all going to make mistakes, and sometimes we're going to be wrong. Sometimes we're going to be right. And in the grand scheme of things, is it for the highest good of all? That means you too, when we're saying for the highest good of all, because it's a lot of people, and even myself in my codependency, I was more focused on what I could do for other people. And we're going to be talking about that and expanding on that a little bit longer this morning, but I want to keep this on topic. So I want to thank you all once again. And thank you, John London, for, sharing that. So, that beneath it all sits something we don't recognize, the need to control. Because when we're trying to make things more comfortable for ourselves out here, it's because we don't feel comfortable in here, right? So sometimes that's where control comes from, is that there's a wound inside of us that has a lot of fear attached to us, that fear of abandonment, that fear of this. So we may try to control so that we don't have those fears realized. But typically, I don't know about y'all, but what happened for me was I got to have those fears realized trying to control. Because in this electromagnetic universe, there's attraction and repulsion. And so sometimes what we're trying to do to attract or try to control, it isn't really trying to attract when we're trying to control, but when we're trying to control something, it ends up being a repulsion. Labeling things as mistakes halts progress, making the mistake learn working as intended. Yes, exactly. We turn lessons to blessings because life is full of lessons. And when we accept that life is full of lessons, it's not meant to have a punishment. But the thing is that all of this is connected sometimes, because a lot of people feel punished, when they make a mistake. And that may be part of the reason that they're afraid of making a mistake or afraid of being wrong. Robbie, you were right, Stacy, about at times not feeling important. What I went through in those times and have bipolar and understanding why I feel so worthless. It's all different these days. Thanks. You're very welcome. Hey, Kim, I'm glad to see you here. I hope you've gotten yourself some sleep. So thank you for being here, Kim. I'm so glad that you're here. Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Well, we don't talk about religion or politics on here. And the thing is, so we're not trying to tell people to fear God. I don't fear God. I have a relationship with God. I can't have a relationship with somebody I fear. That's just me. So you may not want to be here, JL, for Jesus. I love me some Jesus. I was listening to videos about Jesus this morning, but I don't fear God. My consequences to my actions cause my punishment. That's what happens. That's what happens is my consequences, or my own punishment to myself when I make a choice that I need to learn from. Just learn from, because I'm still here. And trust me, I've made several mistakes and I've done several things wrong to be here still. But I'm still here, and as long as we're still breathing, that there is a maker, and that maker's not me, but that I'm not afraid of that maker. I had to learn to with my darkness and my light and merge it together into harmony. Don't fear your maker. That's right, Robbie. Don Woodland. Also, when others make mistakes, if you're around them or live them in a big way, there are some people who will project their mistakes onto you. They will. A God that wishes you to fear them is no God. I know my God don't have defects. My God does not have defects, and that's part of control too. And God's seed is within us. So a mistake is not a knowingly thing. That doesn't say that a mistake is knowingly, JL, for Jesus. That doesn't mean a mistake is something we know is a mistake, although some of us do make mistakes knowingly. But no one makes a mistake knowingly and then not, we try to do our best. I'd like to think human beings try to do their best. You did get a few hours last night, Kim? I saw that this morning. I'm so happy that she's doing much better. NVC, I am from Fort Worth, Texas, but I'm sitting near beautiful Cancun. Don't cap. I like that. The way you think of your creator is the way he will be. If you think he'll punish you, he will. If you think he'll forgive you, he will. Exactly. I like that. I believe that too. Epic. Absolutely. Life's a self-evident principle. Make the mistake you were meant to. That's right. We're going to learn from it. There'll be a lesson to blessing, or we'll be insane. Keep making the same mistake, expecting different results. And I've done that too. And my God still loves me. So that's it. That's it. God loves me despite my mistakes. I know, isn't that good to hear? All right, JL for Jesus, but we're not talking about that today. So I'm going to get back on topic because I think you're trying to get root into my life here, and I have a topic for my life. So I thank you though for your comment. And it was a great conversation piece. And so thank you for that. All right. All right. So we're talking about, why is it so hard to let go? And that's usually when we're trying to prove ourselves right. Epic. What's simple is that your input isn't wanted here. Go preach to the mirror. All right. We're on my topic, not his. Okay. All right. JL for Jesus. If you want to hear about this topic, then you're welcome to stay. Okay. But we're not over here to debate your topic. Okay. All right. So this morning we're going to explore a question. If you're worried about being punished, that's a sure sign you need to take a good look at what you're doing. Oh, that's good, Robbie. Yeah. So God is our friend to guide us. God is not there to just judge us for these things. I understand that people learn that, but God, if we get a relationship with God, then we have a relationship with God and not what the books say necessarily. Well, it wasn't very nice, JL for Jesus, but you're kind of attacking people too in here. Okay. So please stop doing that. And if you want to stay on here and be on topic, we would like to have you here. But I'm not talking about that this morning. What I'm talking about and what I'm moving on to next, because this is my live, not yours. You can have a live on your channel. Is what I'm talking about is what are you trying to control that was never yours to control in the first place? Don. Yep, he got scammed yesterday, missed all TV and internet connections, and got on the phone and gave his card details out and got scammed and shouted at me and took it out on me. I warned him. Oh, Don, I wish you could go. I really wish you could go. JL for Jesus, I'm going to tell you one more time before I put you out that no one's attacking you now. We're talking about my subject. So you can stop with that and listen to what I'm talking about today, or I'm going to put you out. Don't cap. It's hard for me to let go of eating fast food. I don't gain much weight, but I notice my cardio is not the same as it used to be. Hate is not promoted here, but neither is your topic. I'm talking about something. You're being rude and disrespectful, JL for Jesus. So have a good day. Bye-bye. Don't cap. It's hard for me to let go of eating fast food. I don't gain much weight, but I notice my cardio is not the same as it used to be. Right? As we get older, that's all this is going to change. So, like me today, I don't eat 3 meals a day and 2 snacks, because I don't burn my metabolism. That's what it's about, is it's about the metabolism. Our metabolism changes. Fast food is just not good for us. I understand sometimes you just got to eat it. We're not going to do everything 100%, you know. So, it's fast food just isn't good for us. It contains so much salt and so much sugar and so many carbs. And there's good carbs and bad carbs. When you eat nuts and avocados and these kind of things, those are good, good fats. So, but the fast food, if you drop the S, it's fat food. So it's like you have to watch fast food. So I don't even trust some of the fast food that claims to be healthy myself. But I'm over here in Mexico, so fast food is home cooked food over here. So I'm lucky that way. Well, I bet that did push your anxiety through the roof. I wish you could leave, Don. If I were you, I would put my energy not into absorbing his energy, but to trying to figure out. That's what I had to do when I had somebody who was being toxic, is I would have to use my energy to figure out how I could get out of there. And I would pray under the new moon for new possibilities. And I would pray under the full moon to release me from the thoughts that are keeping me stuck and binded, So try that one, because you're so worthy, and you don't even know. You can't know when you're in the house with somebody like that, and it'll eventually make you physically ill. It did me. Yeah, I hear you need to do sprints. I don't work out as hard as I used to. I don't want to hurt myself. You're so welcome, Don. Much love to you. I know how that feels. Thank you. Yes, drop the S and it's fat food. That's right. Good morning, Mr. Summonville. Good to see you. Don, I'm trying not to. I'm sure all the drink through the years has affected his brain. Absolutely. I wish he would get sober, but even getting sober, it takes a while, because it took me years. It takes a while because to be able to move, get out of these old ideas where people think he might have grown up with blame, and where people think that blaming somebody is okay. So the misunderstanding about control, when we hear the word control, most of us think about controlling people controlling us. Yeah, the damage probably has been done. But here's the thing, is that oftentimes we are trying to control some things without even realizing what we are trying to control. So I'm talking about when we're trying to control outcomes, when we're trying to, I know, I feel bad for her too. Yeah, you can't change anybody with substance abuse. They have to want it. They're not going to change. So your being there is just you being a punching bag, and I don't mean a literal, hopefully you're not physically abused, but if you're physically abused, you need to get to a shelter. But they're not going to change. They're not. People with addiction, they're not going to change till they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And as long as you make it comfortable for them, and I'm not saying that it's your fault, I'm just saying that he's comfortable. He's comfortable. He ain't going to change. He's uncomfortably comfortable. So I'm talking about when we're trying to control things and we don't realize we're trying to control things. Epic. The guy was projecting his fear and anxiety. Water off duck's back, bro. He's going through it. Yeah. Yeah. You're very welcome, Don. You deserve so much more. And it's realizing what I deserve. But we can't control this guy. You can't control this, guys. So I'm talking about when we're trying to control outcomes, when we're trying to control other people's opinions, when we're trying to control how we're perceived. A lot of people don't set boundaries, loving boundaries, because they're afraid that somebody's going to think they're a bad person if they set loving boundaries. But once you set loving boundaries, you know that you're not a bad person. And you also know that it's loving boundaries, that it's not you being mean, you see. Sometimes when we've been accused so long for being mean, if we stand up for ourselves, and I'm not saying stand up in a self-righteous way. I'm not saying stand up in a false esteem way, because there's a false esteem to standing up for ourselves too. That's usually when we've gotten fed up to here and we twist off, right? That's a false esteem. Loving boundaries are before everything hits the fan. That's when we set loving boundaries, is when we consider ourselves and what do I want, and is somebody, rather than just taking it in. I know that when I lived in a situation like Dawn, that I would walk through the house and say I have no opinions or no thoughts on this matter, because my thoughts and my opinions didn't matter. So I quit arguing about it. I quit talking about it because it didn't matter. Some people are like that in this life. Not everybody's going to have your best interest at heart. They are not. Yes, we are here for you, Don, and I'm so glad that you're here this morning. Sometimes we're trying to control relationships. That's on my list. I have my notes here. So sometimes we're trying to control relationships, trying to control if they stay or if they go, and sometimes we're trying to control success. Sometimes we're trying to control the future. Sometimes we're trying to control other people's choices. And sometimes we can clearly see the manipulation when people are trying to manipulate us, but we may not understand that we too are playing a part in manipulation. That's a sad, hard, cold fact. I had to realize that in my codependency, that my people pleasing was manipulating people because they weren't really getting to know the real me, because I was doing everything with only the consideration for them, putting them under the microscope of what did they want, anticipating their needs, but they couldn't get to know me because I didn't even know my own wants, needs, and desires. I didn't even know how to express my own wants, needs, and desires. So I had to learn to use my big girl words instead of silent sulking, silent suffering, silent, silent, silent. It works for a while, but eventually it don't work anymore. So many of us spend enormous amount of energy trying to manage uncertainty. There's a fear of uncertainty, and I get it. I get it. I have fears of uncertainties too. As long as we're alive, there's going to be things that are uncertain. So the challenge is that life was never designed to give us certainty. You see, we grow through different challenges, changes, and chapters in our lives. Life is never going to stay the same unless we just stay in that loop of insanity. So why we control? Nobody wakes up and decides to become controlling. That's not what we wake up and decide to do. We're just not aware of where we're trying to control. Some of us aren't aware of what our fears are. So control is usually born from fear, And until we know what our fears are, so, on the thumbnail, it's going to say, what are you afraid of? That's what my therapist kept asking me, is what are you afraid of, Stacy? It's been physically, mentally, and financially draining beyond words. I know. I've been there. Actus, the King of Greece has just entered the live. Please stop writing for 1 minute to pay honor. Hello, Actus. We're glad you could come in, the King of Greece. Robbie, I'm not a doctor, but as a human and a friend to you, Don, time to make some serious thinking. What best for the whole situation and you, Don? Yes, you must consider yourself. You must. Because nothing changes if nothing changes, and he's not going to change. He's pretty comfortable with what's going on right there. Epic. I realized I'm guilty of 99% of the accusations I make of others. We teach ourselves if we direct it inwards. It's not comfy, but it works. Exactly, Epic. I love that. Yes, it's exactly true. I had to do that too. We are not perfect. We are all perfectly imperfect and especially special, and so that's the thing, is that when we realize that and quit trying to push that beach ball down, you're two brains in one. Well, thank you. Thank you. It's that I know, like Epic is saying, I've learned how to embrace the negative parts of myself. See, most people are trying to hide the negative parts of themselves, and that in itself is a manipulation. That's part of what we're trying to control is how people perceive us, right? And so that in itself is a manipulation. I didn't know that until I worked on my codependency, because a lot of people, I think, have a misconception of what codependency is. So until I worked on my own codependency, did I realize where my manipulation was. I always thought people were trying to control me, but I was giving people control. I was giving people my power because I wasn't considering myself. That was the problem. That was the problem. So control is usually born of fear. If you grew up in chaos, control may have become safety. If you experience rejection, control may have become protection. If mistakes had painful consequences, then you may have become into survival mode. A lot of us were in survival mode. Control often starts as wisdom. That's what you were doing, Don? I believe it. I did it too. So the problem is what protected us then may imprison us now, right? It can imprison us now. Thank you, Actus, for coming in and saying hello. All right, you have fun in your 3,001 meter tower. You are in survival mode. I would totally believe that, Don. So that's why I hope you'll stay for the breathing, because, darling, each breath is opening something new. That's how we rebirth. If we keep recycling those toxic breaths, because when you're living with a toxic person, that's why I say you will eventually get sick. That's what happened to me, is that I was living with a toxic person. I noticed the plants in my house was dying. The plants in my house was dying. Toxic energy is toxic energy. So when I got sick, I was like, I'm out of here. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here, but I am out of here. I wanted things to be well. I wanted things to be better, but there comes a point in time when you have to realize it's not going to get better. No matter how much praying under the moon and the stars, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I had to be the one to change it. Yeah. So the exhaustion of control. One of the biggest costs of control is exhaustion. We will be exhausted. Even the plants were dying. Do I say Hoderador or Joaderdor? But even the plants were dying. That's right. So think about how much energy it takes to rehearse conversations. Rehearse conversations. Any of y'all in here guilty of rehearsing conversations? I used to rehearse conversations. The place is falling apart. I know the place will fall apart. There's not anything there to grow, you know. So think about how much energy it takes to rehearse those conversations, to predict the outcomes. Now, y'all know we've done this. Rehearse conversations and predict outcomes. And usually that comes out as rumination and obsession. Analyze every decision. Worry about what people think. Try to make everyone happy and prevent mistakes. Avoid disappointment. Manage everyone's emotions and opinions too. No wonder why so many people are tired. You know, I did like a month ago or so. Are you relaxing, or are you resisting? Because a lot of times some of the things people are doing to relax, they aren't even really relaxing. They're just trying to escape, and they're not even escaping because they're still not even hearing everything. And I have to catch myself sometimes. I'll be thinking about something and I'll listen to something else. I get a lot of education from listening to things. And so, when I'm doing that, I have to remind myself to breathe and focus, because our brain has so much data in it. When the mind goes blank and you keep talking, you've made it. Inner dialogue was massive. I know, right? And if we want something different to change, we have to change that inner dialogue, right? And that's why I'm going to start doing just a video a week on the self-esteem alphabet, because a lot of times we don't realize that the words navigate our experiences. The words that we speak, the feelings that we feel, and the feelings that we feel can be associated with the words that we're speaking, right? So it all comes out in the body language, the feelings do. Water leaks. Yep, I know, Don. So when people are tired, they're just carrying too many responsibilities that were never theirs to carry, right? Sometimes we can't be in somebody else's mind all the time. So the illusion. Here's the difficult truth. The illusion. Control often gives us the feeling of safety without the reality of safety. Because remember, usually control repulses people. When people are trying to control me, I try to stay away from that person. But I used to be a controller. I used to try to control with my, because I didn't know my big girl words. I used to try to control with my silent suffering and sulking. That would be me trying to control my looking depressed and showing that body language that I was depressed, but it didn't change a damn thing, right, y'all? It didn't change nothing. So I had to learn to use my big girl words. I had to learn to empower myself with those words because my words would change my experiences. So if nothing changes, nothing changes. So control often gives us the safety without the reality of safety. We can worry about something for 6 months, right? And it still happens. Sometimes we worry about things that don't even happen, and that's a waste of our energy. That's what I had to learn, is I sometimes worried about things that didn't even happen. I think it was Einstein's had a quote for that, right? Does anybody know that quote up in here? So we can prepare for every scenario, and life creates a new one. There's no way we can predict. That's why, like staying sober is one day at a time. We don't know what's going to happen. And a lot of the things of that uncertainty drove me, to drinking, or that wasn't just the only thing drove me to drinking. I had a physical craving for alcohol and drugs. It's okay, Dawn. We're here. And I hope that this is helpful today. Because I know that for me, I had to listen and listen and listen until I finally got the courage. The courage. It is a total waste of energy, Epic. Yeah, most things we think will never happen. Yeah, what will happen never do. That's exactly right. Yes, Einstein was amazing. I love me some Einstein quotes. So we can do everything right and still experience loss. That's why there was a book, why bad things happen to good people, right? Is that, and I know that for me, that was a lot of that affected my reality. You go to church, you try to be good, and still bad things happen. So they tell you sometimes in some religions that if you be good, then you're going to experience good things. But if you be bad, you're going to experience bad things. But the reality in life is that it's all learning. It's all a learning experience. And then we wouldn't have the desire even to learn if we didn't make mistakes, if we weren't curious. So a lot of us, though, in trauma, forget the curiosity. That's why I'm always trying to return us back to, and I had to return to my childlike self, the child of wonder, the child that asked questions, the child that had the voice. Einstein couldn't bridge the gap to quantum mechanics. His overthinking predicts most of what we know today, but even he was missing. I know, right? Right? Because it's just, we're all going to, yeah, smartest guy ever. Still couldn't call it. I know, right? Epic? It's true. It's true. So control is not certainty. Control won't help us. It's a waste of energy. It's often an attempt to negotiate with uncertainty because we may not know. This is why we need the curiosity, and or else we're going to compromise ourselves or someone else. And negotiation means mutuality, for the best good of all. I think that all of the faiths, no matter which one it is, the real thing is for the best good of all. Unfortunately, it's kind of manipulated that there all be their faith. But okay, we're not talking about all of that, but that's okay. So please stay on topic here, Ampas. You're welcome to be here, but we're not talking about political wars and things like this. We're talking about the wars we wage within ourselves. Epic. Curiosity is seriously the secret sauce. Not being afraid to discover we're wrong fixes. It does. It does. It brings us joy. Curiosity brings us joy. Comparison is the thief of joy, but curiosity brings us joy. It's often an attempt to negotiate with uncertainty, was what I was saying. And uncertainty rarely negotiates. So codependency and control. Okay, I'm paused. If you don't stay on topic here, I'm going to have to put you in timeout. Okay, darling? We want you to be here, but we're talking about codependency and control now. Okay? Thank you so much. So this is where control can become subtle, and codependency if it was a learned behavior, right? is it Johador? I'm still trying to get it right. Do I say it with an H or a G? El Jodor. It's a great name. I just want to say it right. So many people think codependency is simply people pleasing, but underneath people pleasing is often JR. So El Jodo. So you just call you JR? Is that better? All right. Well, I'm enough with you. I'm putting you in timeout because we just ain't doing this. We just ain't doing this. All right. So, I didn't put any. I put the right. I was afraid I'm gonna put the wrong person in timeout. I don't want to put any wrong persons in timeout. They can never concede the point. So I know, right? I know. So underneath people pleasing. That's right. That's right. Thank you, JR, El Joe. So underneath people pleasing is an attempt to control. If I can make everyone happy, maybe no one will leave, right? That's what we're doing when we're people pleasing. If I can fix everyone, maybe everything will be okay. If I can manage everyone's emotions, maybe I'll feel safe. The intention is usually love. I know for me and my codependency, it was love. But I wasn't loving myself, and I didn't realize that in my codependency, I wasn't loving myself. And when I'm not loving myself, I can't fully love someone else wholly. WHOLLY. I couldn't wholly love somebody else. So the result is usually exhaustion. Exhaustion. Because we were never meant, sometimes people need to find their tribe. Yes. Yes. And they have to realize that not everybody is their tribe, right? Right, JR? Not everybody is going to be our tribe. And that's okay. And we don't even need to judge people who aren't our tribe. But when we're afraid of rejection, sometimes we may tend to, with this negative energy, because rejection brings up negative energy. So with that negative energy, we may be tempted to judge somebody who's not our tribe. And we don't need to judge. We just need to acknowledge it and discernment that this just isn't my tribe. We like Epic. Epic doesn't have to tell us his name, JMap. You're welcome to be here, but we are all supportive of each other here. So thank you. People pleasing is a great tool to have under your belt. Doing it unconsciously is a problem. Absolutely. And, when I want to, being generous is a good thing, but we have to ask ourselves, and I had to learn this, I had a spiritual teacher tell me, can I afford it? Can I afford it mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially? Because there's times we can't afford it. We can't give from an empty cup. So if we can't afford it in one of those realms, we need to really question if we and be willing to say, no, I hope that you're going to be able to find the help you need, but I'm not going to be able to help you, and that's okay. That's a loving boundary. J. Okay. Epic is J. Let me write that down so when I see you next time, Epic is J. Okay. So the difference between control and responsibility. This distinction changed my life because when I'm trying to control, I was feeling responsible for a lot of things. Anybody else in here, when you're trying to control, you're feeling responsible for a lot of things? This is when I talk about freedom. Freedom. J and JR. Very cool. So I don't know what that is. Defi Duchador. So the difference between control and responsibility is, that responsibility is healthy if it's just responsibility for what, we for ourselves, but control is exhausting. So responsibility is I will do my part if I can afford it, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. We're not given from an empty cup. Control says I must guarantee the outcome. See, this is the thing, is we're trying to do and control. That's why I say that it's more of a compromise, because we're trying to get somebody to give us something that we may perceive we don't have ourselves, that we want, if we're doing something for them, we may want an obligation back. And that could be a learned behavior. And that's what's important in this life, is to learn Sometimes we need to unlearn learned behaviors is all. Because sometimes people stay in relationships way past the expiration date because of this obligation component. So control says, I must guarantee the outcome. Responsibility allows for effort. Knowing that if you're in a partnership, there's two in that partnership. It shouldn't be a one-sided partnership. We don't want a one-sided partnership. So we want to have that negotiation so someone's not feeling compromised here. Control demands certainty. Like, that's why a lot of people, when you have a controlling person yelling at you or a controlling person that you just want to shut down, because there's not certainty. So there's not an answer for that, right? Is that things can always go two ways. That's why when we were talking about Monday night about making a wrong, what if you're wrong? Things can always go two ways. So it's like I said, as long as it's not illegal. No, I'm not a philosopher, but I do love philosophy, Jahid Rashid. So control creates anxiety. One asks us to show up, the other asks us to be God, right? And that's a job description that none of us can fill. None of us can be God to ourselves or we can only govern ourselves. And we all have this anyway. We're not talking about religion, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? If not, then that'd be for a private thing. But what letting go actually means, many people hear let go. There's some things you can let go of and some things that you can't. Yeah. I don't know that much about Russian philosophy. I like that of the mystics, Rome and Greece and Egypt, and that's my goal is to get to those places. I'm not sure about Russian. I don't know as much, but I'm sure that it's great. So letting go doesn't mean that we stop caring. See, it's about the perceptions that we carry. And that perception is the data that's entered through our eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and, everything touching what we've seen and experienced. It's our perceptions, are what develop our experiences, and our experiences are what develop the data. And two people can see the same thing and experience it differently. So that's what gives us our individuality is our own perceptions, our free will. So it means we continue showing up while we release the grip on the outcome. What do I want? I talked about that when we talked about being wrong. What if we're wrong? What do I want? It's important to know, what do I want? Because sometimes what you want, at times you may perceive that it was wrong, but it might not be wrong, you see. And sometimes what you thought you didn't want, is that if you got it, it might turn out to be good. So we just don't know. So the uncertainty is that not knowing. So you better be clear about what you want, because we're all going to have challenges, changes, and chapters in our lives. And there's no certainty in all those challenges, changes, and chapters. I am a coach. Russian women eat vegetables and do the swan dance. Well, that's beautiful. All right. So it means we continue showing up while we release our grip on the outcome. It means trusting that life can unfold without our constant management. When your free will forces compliance on others, it's dictatorial. Yes, exactly, Scarecrow. Thank you. Jahid Rashid. I don't living with my mom because every time she's just saying, why not doing a job? And it's the type of thing, but also in the same time, I'm finding the job and it's like she want money, but why? I don't know, Jahid, since I don't know your mom, and I would have to have more context. I do one-on-one coaching if you want one-on-one coaching, because that would be more of a one-on-one thing, because I would have to know the context of the whole conversation. But yeah, our moms tend to want to control. And if we're living in their house, they may or may, if she wants some rent money, well, it's okay to want rent money, because I don't know how old you are. I don't know, what the whole circumstance is. Yes, psychology epic. JR, we also must admit when we're wrong. Yes, People admire that because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us connect with one another because we are all human beings. No one is superior to another human being. You may have a boss, a manager, or something else, but they don't have a right to treat you poorly because it takes all of us, to manage something for an outcome I care than an input to make. JR, the moral compass should always be accurate. Right. In the best interest of us all. And for me to try to control things by doing everything, this is what I had to learn. For me to try to control things by doing everything is that's not being accurate with the moral compass. That's not being accurate because I'm taking away an experience or opportunity of somebody else being able to do something that they could do, and receive the esteem from that. And if I'm trying to esteem myself by that and wearing myself out, this is where we're compromised, you see? And I had to learn that myself, is not to compromise myself because it's not in the best interest of somebody else. If I'm feeling stressed, if I'm feeling resentful, that's not honoring somebody else. And so that's also not honoring myself. I'm sorry that's, if you're doing, you're going to find a job. If you're putting out resumes or applications every day, you're going to find a job, but it's not going to come just like that. So I don't know how long you've been looking for a job. I don't know if there is a time element and what your field is. So yeah, if you need one-on-one coaching, feel free to message me. Okay. You can email me. JR, everyone has everyone has one, but choose to ignore. Yes. Epic. I'm not a fighter. I learned that being valuable can be an effective defense. That's what I talked about, Epic. Were you here when I was talking about that? Is that we will sometimes try to make ourselves, just inexpendable or whatever, so that we can't be replaced because of the fear of abandonment. But we haven't acknowledged the fear of abandonment. But we continue to feel like they notice everybody else except us, even though we're working the hardest in our mind. And we probably are. I know for me, that was the case. And that was a defense mechanism. Yeah. That is so sad. I hope you'll get a job really soon. I do, because I know that that's frustrating. Getting wiser with using it ethically lately. Yes, ethically. And, honoring ourselves, because that's how we are wiser. It's like, do I want to do this? Do I have that time? Do I have the energy? Do I have is it, and because sometimes people will take advantage of you. The biggest instance is when somebody asks you for a ride to one place and then you're taking them to one place and then they want to go to 5 different places. Does that ever happen to you? I know that it happens a lot. And so it's about having and setting that boundary that if you've only got gas to go to one place and they're not offering gas money, if they want to go to several places, do I have the time to go to several places? Because then if we do that, if we think just because we agreed to go to one place, that means we agreed to go to the other place, that's giving our power away, one, which we may not even realize it. That might be a learned behaviors that we just comply. Because a lot of times when we're afraid of conflict and confrontation, we're afraid to set those loving boundaries, you see. So that's what I had to learn, is how to set loving boundaries, not boundaries like I learned growing up, where I'm silent suffering, twisting off, wait until I get fed up to here to tell people what I expect, or what I want, and they think I'm crazy, and it still was the same thing, different day. Our pride is something else. Yes, it is, JR. Vulnerable. Yes, Don. Wish I could get on a plane and come see you. I know it would help sort things out. I wish you could too, darling. I wish you could too. But people pleasing, yes. Epic. Some people are in a bad place. Being vulnerable changes their tune 90% of the time. A lot of us, though, part of my protective mechanism was when I was afraid to show vulnerability because I was afraid people would be meaner to me if I showed vulnerability. That was the wall that I was building around myself, was I tried to act tough all the time and like I could handle everything all the time. And that was my false esteem. That was my false esteem. And I had to discover my false esteem so I could discover real self-esteem. And real self-esteem comes with me considering myself rather than trying to perform for everybody else to get something back. Because see, everything that I wanted back was within me and was for me to give to somebody else with grace, you know? So yeah, I had to learn to say, instead of giving people the business being passive aggressive, I had to learn to say, this hurts my feelings when. And it may not be, I'm not saying that you did something wrong. I'm just saying that this hurts my feelings when, so that we could work on it together and me not to keep feeling the same feeling every time it happened, right? I hope you'll stay with us for the breathing part, Jahid Rashid, and I hope that you get a job really soon, so your mom will stop, will stop making you won't feel bad. Epic, realizing how well it works is spooky though. With great power comes great responsibility. Yes, but freedom too. I got so much freedom from not trying to navigate how other people feel or think about me. That's what I got from my learning about my own codependency and how I was manipulating, because I didn't know I was manipulating too with my people pleasing and overcompensating and all of this, that I was trying to get something from people that I had within myself, but my spirit knew that I had it within myself. That's why I would feel so down on myself. And then it was great to learn my why I was doing what I was doing, you know, realizing how well it works. Yes, yeah. You are worth it, Jahid Rashid. You are, and you will find a job. You will. I had a client that I started working with. I've been working with her for a few years, but she lost her job in January. And so she was afraid she wasn't going to get a job. She was navigating uncertainty. And I kept telling her, you keep putting out resumes, you keep putting out applications, you're going to get a job. And she did. And that's why we talked about on the Monday night is that what if it's wrong? Because then she was worried about picking the wrong job. And it's like neither of them are wrong. One's your comfort zone, one is not. One has more money, but you get to learn something, and one is your comfort zone and you get to do the same thing. So that's the choices, and we get to make our own choices. JR, people see me and start asking for money and favors. They confuse me. I need help. I hear you, JR. I hear you. Me too. Me too. I know. Yeah. So it's, people will quit doing that. I mean, I think I have less people doing that now, because I know what I want. I know what I want. And if somebody's, I just recently had somebody ask me to go to coffee. Well, they didn't make it to coffee. They stayed in because it was hot outside. And then they didn't make it to coffee. So then they're still trying to come see me. And I'm like, look, if they can't buy their own coffee, if they can't, do this, because I have a lot of friends. I don't need, and I have work. My time is valuable. I don't need to just meet new people and have them come by my house. I'm like, why would they wanted to come by my house, y'all? I'm like, why would I want you to come by my house? So I know what I want. I know that I don't want someone who can't buy their own coffee, who doesn't want to buy coffee, who just wants to come by my house. That's shady, right? And so also I know that if they want to do that and they can't go to coffee, maybe they can afford coffee, but maybe they're in a relationship and can't be seen out in public. Now I don't know any of these things because I don't know this person. So third, why would I want them to come by my house? Right? It's like, are you crazy? So I know what I want, and it's somebody who's dependable. It's somebody who can buy me a cup of coffee. It's somebody who can show up. It's somebody who doesn't have expectations quickly, you know. JR, nobody got time to meet new people. I know. It's like I love being in my house. And if I agree to go to coffee with you or to meet you for a coffee and you don't show up, well, that's too bad because I like being in my house too much. Those small things do add up. Yeah, exactly. Rodolfo, hello. I'm glad you're here. Yep, that's exactly it, Don. And we have to set loving boundaries and with ourselves first, saying, I'm not going to do this and not judge them. I don't want to judge these people. I mean, it may sound, but no, I just, where am I going to place my energy? And I don't, like, was said epic. I don't have to, I have a lot of friends and I love y'all. I don't need to go out there in public. I get to meet people from all over the place. I don't need to go out there and get involved in stuff that I don't have, that I'm not interested in. So what letting go actually means. Yes, yes, Shahid Rashid, you should email me. And if you look in one of my other videos, you can find my email address. I'll put it in this one after, but I had technical difficulties this morning, so I don't have it in the information for this video yet. It will be there though. So many people here let go. I already said that part, didn't I? It doesn't, letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. We can still care, but not participate. It means we stop trying to force, right? Stop trying to force people to like us. It means we continue showing up while releasing our grip on the outcome, being okay with uncertainty. So that's where that can I afford it mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally come up, and is helpful because am I expecting an outcome? Because what can I afford? Rather than what am I going to gain from going out? Maybe they're going to like me. Maybe they're going to respect me. Maybe they're going to help me get a job. Maybe they're going to help me do this. And I'm not saying those things aren't okay. I'm just saying, can you afford it? Right? So it means trusting that life can unfold without our constant management, that I don't have to like overthink every little thing, that I can just be like, this is what I want. And then see if it happens, and then not take it personally if it doesn't happen. If I've done everything that I can, like applying for those jobs, Shahid Rashid, then that's good enough. And I just have to wait because that's important. It means participating without controlling. So a personal reflection, is that, I used to try to control things too. And I didn't realize that with my codependency, that I was trying to control how people saw me. I was trying to control all these things. And so it just didn't work. I learned that when I wasn't trying to control and manage other people's emotions, I had more freedom. I had more peace. We do live in an agenda-based society, but we have choices. Do I want to participate in this agenda, or do I want to participate in that agenda? Or, what is, I'm worthy, so I don't have to just go with the flow of other people's agendas all the time. So when we realize our own worth, yes, yes. I have gone for, different opportunities. And while I went for an opportunity to do one thing, I got a better opportunity to be more aligned with myself. Because being myself, showing up as myself, rather than trying to pretend to be somebody else to show up with my false esteem for this opportunity, got me to what I wanted, really. And I didn't even know that I would get what I wanted. And I didn't even really know what I say, for instance, when I was a little girl. Okay, this is one of these stories. When I was a little girl, like a lot of little girls, I wanted to be a modeling actress. So I, signed up with Explore Talent, in Texas. And I got the opportunity to model and lie about some face cream, say that it made me younger. I got the opportunity to do that, and I decided I don't like doing this. And then I got the opportunity to be in a documentary thing, and it was about, uh, the documentary called for me to play a racist New Yorker. And look, y'all, I'm from Texas, and I'm not racist. So the thing was when I went to audition for this part, I didn't get that part, but they liked me. So what they did was they put me in a part, just playing a part as a hippie in a safe house, which is more aligned with my character. But I didn't expect to go in there and get a part as a hippie in a safe house. They even just created that part for me because they liked me. I suited up and I showed up. And sometimes that's all you got to do is suit up and show up and be you. That's what I learned. So it's these little things that we gain evidence for on Wednesday. It's WINSDAY. And that was a win. There's other things in my life that's been like that too. Now, I no longer desire to be an actor either, because like is said by Erwin Curtis, is that actors get paid for playing pretend. And, we're not getting paid. But I didn't have to pretend anything. I had very few lines in that documentary. And but I just got to be in there. So that was cool. So I get to figure out what I want. And sometimes figuring out what I thought that I wanted shows me, oh, I got to have that opportunity so then I can let it go. Like what was said in the beginning of this, letting go. Why is letting go so hard? Right? And sometimes we just got to do the experience for ourselves to let go of that, let go of that wanting, that longing, right? That proving to ourselves. Epic. It was an opposition of what you felt you were, then it shifted, break it to build it. You stay by going away. Yes, yes, it was so cool. It was so cool. It was such a great experience that I got to have, and I got to be me, you know. It was really cool to get to see how all that unfolded, and I got to be me. But I don't think I'm an actor. No. So maybe the question isn't, because I'm not even an influencer. You know, sometimes my friends try to get me to get on certain social media things and do things, and I've tried and I do that, but I'm really, it's hard. I've got to learn how. I had to learn to talk for a long time for these lives, and now I need to learn how to talk in a short time for these social media things if I want to do that, because yeah. So maybe the question isn't how do I gain control? Maybe the question is, what would happen if I trusted myself enough to loosen the grip, right? So because peace doesn't come from controlling everyone. Freedom doesn't come from controlling everyone. Yeah, or when they do have natural charisma. So yeah. Oh, Jay, you're on the wrong channel, darling. So epic. We all act until we can do it live. Thank you very much, Epic. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your sharing your journey too. Because that's freedom, right? Is that we're not hiding from ourselves. We're able to share what we learn and lift each other up in here. And that's what I love about you all. Thank you. So peace comes from knowing whatever happens, you'll meet it. You'll be fine. Because look, you didn't get to where you are now if you didn't meet it. So you're going to be fine. Same self-trust we talked about last week applies here. You know, the goal isn't controlling life. The goal is developing trust in yourself that you no longer need to control. Trust in yourself. I had to learn to trust myself. You know, where the ego and the soul merge in harmony. The ego is the part that's trying to protect us, but it also gives us our drive. And the soul is the part that directs us, but it also gives us our vulnerability. So when we can merge our protection with our vulnerability, right? And then our drive with our direction, we get in harmony. It's being able to embrace it all, not just hide from one to achieve the other, and not just trying to achieve the other. And yeah, you've never been accused of acting. You're the real deal 24/7. Well, that is cool, because that's what I try to help people with and promote here, is being able to be yourself, to be your authentic self. But I understand when I wasn't being my authentic self, you know, and it was prison. It was like a prison, not getting to be me, because I thought I wasn't good enough. So that's what I try to get on here to do, is to help people realize you're not alone. So perhaps the real freedom isn't certainty, control, but trust. Trust will rise, and you'll rise. Trust that you're going to rise with that. Okay. So when we learn to trust ourselves, because a lot of times the reason we don't trust ourselves is because we put all of our trust in someone else. When we trust ourselves, we're going to know who and what to trust. We won't be just running from protection. We'll be growing from direction. So y'all ready to breathe it in? You ready for this? I hope that you all were able to enjoy this today, that it was helpful. I want to thank you all who showed up today. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, if this resonates with you, I encourage you to subscribe. If you need one-on-one coaching, it will be in the description when I get through. I'll go in and edit it and put it in. I have a self-trust reset program that's an intensive 3-month program to help you learn the difference between the ego and the soul, and finding harmony in between in your freedom. So let's breathe, darlings. We're going to breathe in the harmony, the freedom, and release any type of ego and control and all of this, okay? Feel some freedom. So what we do is we do 5 breaths. JR, oh, thank you so much for subbing. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here. You really had a lot to offer today. All of you had some amazing comments. I appreciate that. Hi, Tommy. from Sweden. I keep missing you because we're about to finish here. You going to breathe with us, Tommy? We're only doing 5 breaths, but I do this so that we can learn how breathing regulates us and it regenerates your cells. I'm often asked about beauty tips here. Regenerating your cells. Letting go of worries helps to regenerate your cells because the worries will show up on our face. It will show up in our body language. And so breathing helps us to breathe in our posture, because I want you to breathe all the way into your stomach. And if you breathe all the way into your stomach, your shoulders will rise. You'll be able to get your air passages through your glands and release anything that's not true for you. And then you're also going to hold it, if you can, for 4 counts. If you can't hold it for 4 counts, that's okay. Just do your best. And then we're going to release gently and slowly out of our mouth, because that's the way life is you can go fast and then wake up one day and be like, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda, or not. Because life is life, and one day at a time. Okay. So and okay came out together. So let's do our breathing, darlings. So we're going to take a deep breath in. Hold it. And release gently and slowly. Regulation and regeneration. So we don't react, we can respond. Breathe in. Hold it. And release. Breathe. Hold it. Release. Just 2 more. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. Last one. Breathe in. Hold it. Release. All right. Who's still here? Who's still here? Wasn't that great? Thank you all so much for being here. I love getting to breathe with you, and I hope that it helped you to regenerate and regulate yourself, your cells, and your soul so that we can all grow. Epic. Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. It means a great deal to me. And if you subbed or have subbed in the past, thank you so much. Rodolfo, thank you. Thank you, Mama. Thank you all so much. Mama, Rodolfo, Epic, John London. I don't know if he's still here. JR, Jay, everyone. Thank you so much, Epic. I appreciate that. I hope y'all are going to have a wonderful Wednesday. Think of your wins today. You take care too. I thank you so much. I'll be back on here Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. No, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Sorry. I made a mistake. I'll be back on here at 6 p.m. on Friday night Central Standard Time. Hello, T the Lame. So y'all have an excellent Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. Much love and appreciation. Y'all are amazing. Thank you, JR. Thank you. See y'all Friday night. Y'all gonna be my Friday night day, okay? All right. Thanks, Nate. I'm glad to see you. We are going to stop now, but I'll be back Friday night at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, Nate. I'll be back Friday night at 6 p.m. If y'all have any ideas, thank you, Ghost. If y'all have any ideas for content or anything, that something that you want to hear shared on here, and I'll try to share that if I have any kind of knowledge about it. And if not, sometimes I study this stuff that y'all ask me to see. Love from Turkey. I will love from Mexico. All right. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day. Bye. Wednesday.